As hard as it is for me to admit, of course, I have made mistakes throughout my crypto mining journey. So in this video, I'm going to share my 5 biggest regrets with you in hopes that maybe you can learn from my mistakes so that you don't have to make the same ones. For each of these 5, I'm going to go over what I did, why I regret that, and finally what I feel I should have done instead, which is also what I'd recommend you guys do. So let's get right into that after a quick word from our sponsor. JingleMining.com is an online ASIC miner store where you can get miners from brands like 𝗙𝗚𝗚, Goldshell, Bitmain, and 𝗧-𝗦𝗛. In fact, Jingle Mining is the largest authorized dealer of all 𝗧-𝗦𝗛 products and provide the best price available. This includes for the new and super efficient 𝗧-𝗦𝗛 X16Q, which is now available for pre-order. This ET hash and ETC hash miner is incredibly powerful and power efficient, coming in at 1845 mega hash at only 630 watts. It is also really silent, and the low power consumption makes it suitable even for at-home miners with high power prices. It also has an impressive 8 GB of memory and is the first 𝗧 miner that can dual mine Zilliqa. So get yours today at jinglemining.com and use the coupon code 𝗬 to get a 1% discount on your entire order. So for regret number 1, let me set the scene real quick. This was about 2.5 years ago. I was just getting my mining farm going, and because ETH profitability was so high, I was just going crazy buying any GPU I could get my hands on. And since profitability was so good for GPU mining at that point, which GPUs you bought didn't really seem to matter at all back then. They were all just money printing machines as far as I was concerned. So I was just looking for cheap deals on used cards and stacking up on a bunch of GTX 1060s and 1070s and all kinds of old crappy GPUs. And what I regret about this is that I obviously didn't do my research on what cards are actually good for mining and would also keep their value for selling secondhand to gamers. So what happened is, of course, that when the ETH merge hit right at the same time as we entered into another crypto bear market, GPU mining profitability was completely wiped out, and I was stuck with all of these GPUs that both were no longer even close to being profitable because they were so power inefficient, but that I also couldn't really sell on to gamers because they were 2 generations old at that point and nobody wanted to buy them. So what I really feel I should have done instead is, obviously, I should have done my research. Both, first of all, to better understand what actually makes a GPU good for mining, learning about power efficiency and looking at hash rate numbers for other coins other than just Ethereum, and also researching what GPUs are actually good in those regards. You guys have no idea how bad I want to go back in time to like 2021 𝗬 and tell him to stop spending thousands of dollars on old 10 series cards and just buy 3070s instead. Because had I done that, I would basically have been able to keep my whole farm running ever since then. But now, instead I've had to go through all this hassle of selling my 10 series cards at a massive loss just to be able to buy even a few cards that are actually at least close to being profitable now in the bear market. And in that same vein, looking back at the mentality of 2021 𝗬, I was just so laser focused on only GPU mining, even though I knew the Ethereum merge was coming and that it had the potential to completely eradicate all GPU mining profitability. And I really regret this, because when the ETH merge hit and Ethereum was no longer mineable, I more or less had to turn my whole farm off. However, the ETH merge only really affected GPU mining, while all other types of mining were pretty much unaffected by it. I'm talking stuff like CPU mining or ASIC mining. So what I obviously now wish that I would have done instead of sinking all of my money into buying GPUs for mining, I should have also got some CPUs as well and some ASICs for different coins. Like, imagine if instead of getting all those 1060s, I would have cashed out for a Bitmain L7 or something. Well, okay, maybe that's not exactly realistic because those things were like 25 grand back then, but I think you still get the point of what I'm getting at here. And why I'm bringing this up is because this is still true now as well. Diversifying your farm is most likely always going to be a good idea. We never know what the future holds in this space. For example, let's say you go all in on Cardano ASICs because KDA mining looks super profitable right now. Maybe that coin just crashes and then you're screwed. you made no money and you're stuck with a bunch of hardware nobody wants to buy off of you. Or if you instead go all in on CPUs, maybe GPU mining comes back with a vengeance and becomes super profitable again, and then you'd of course wish you would have put some of the money into GPUs instead of CPUs. One person I think did really well in this regard is 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏, so shout out to him, go check his channel out, because his farm is, in my opinion, really well balanced between GPUs, CPUs and ASICs, and that's what I'm aspiring to build my farm into now. So, in other words, my regret was that I was too blinded by what type of mining was currently the most profitable, and I didn't think long term and failed to diversify my farm, which would have served me a lot better in the long run. Alright, so third regret. I've mostly only stuck with mining coins that were safe and established with steady profitability, and I've not really done very much spec mining of brand new coins at all. And because of that, just in the past few years, I've missed out on a few gems that could have made me a lot of money. For example, I really considered mining some Kaspa and making a video about that back when that coin first started out, like over a year ago at this point. But honestly, the reason I didn't is because whenever as a YouTuber you just mention a new coin, the comment section just immediately turns so toxic. It really doesn't matter how much you mention in the video that it's speculative mining and it's not guaranteed and I'm doing it at my own risk. People just start calling you a scammer and a shill, and honestly, it's just not fun hearing that stuff when all I'm trying to do is make some entertaining content for you guys. And yes, I understand that the vast majority of you guys aren't like that, and that it's just a vocal minority of troll commenters. But why I regret it is because, honestly, mining new coins is a lot of fun. And if you're able to catch a coin really early on, you can usually stack a ridiculous amount of that coin while mining with just a couple of GPUs for a few days. And I wish I would have done that a lot more and also made videos about it for you guys. Like, imagine if I did make that Kaspa video a year ago, and even if it would have resonated with just one of you, who then went out and did more research into the project and decided that you wanted to dedicate a rig to it, you'd have stacked like hundreds of thousands of Kaspa by now, which would be worth a heck of a lot of money. And in my opinion, that would have been so worth it, which is why I really regret it. Because why I even do this to begin with is I want to empower you guys with knowledge so that you have the ability to go out and make educated decisions that are right for your specific situations in mining. Next up, I want to talk about how I didn't really have any particular mining strategy when I first started out, and how I managed my mining earnings really poorly in terms of what I did with them. Now, to be fair, the way it worked out for me kind of was still pretty okay, but that was almost more down to luck than anything else. Because what I did was, during the bull market of 2021 to 2022, I just sold all of my mining earnings and reinvested it into expanding my farm. Now, I've already talked about how I wish I would have bought different and more diverse mining equipment, but overall, cashing out to build my farm at that point wasn't the worst decision I could have made, because it did allow me to grow my farm really quickly in a manner that I wouldn't have been able to otherwise. But looking back now, I just really wish I would have taken the time to sit down and plan out what I wanted to get out of my crypto mining hobby and how to best get there. Of course, hindsight is always 20/20, but what I should have done is probably sell off almost all of my farm just before the ETH merge while GPU prices were still ridiculously high, waited like 6 months and then started buying diverse mining gear back at the much lower prices we had then. But not only that, I should also of course have had a strategy in mind not only for my hardware, but also for my actual mining. You know, what coins I'm mining, why, and what my plan to do with them is. Thankfully, I do have a plan like that in place now. You can check out my video about what that plan is after you finish watching this video. I'll leave a link to it down in the description. But I'm sure that if I would have done my research and planning beforehand, and then of course amended my strategy throughout as things changed, when it comes to things like what coins I was mining, what I was planning on doing with the mined coins, how I planned to pay for the power in the best way, and stuff like that, I would have been in a much better position now. But to be fair, that strategy would probably have looked a lot different if it wasn't for my fifth and final regret, which I'll tell you guys all about after a quick word from our sponsor.
unMineable is a service that lets you mine like normal on your GPU or ASIC rigs, but be paid out in over 70 different cryptos, most of which are, well, unMineable. This is a great service for those of you who might want to build a diverse crypto portfolio without having to go through the hassle of giving away your personal information, paying exchange fees, and triggering taxable events when buying coins. Thanks to unMineable, you also don't have to make the choice between mining the most profitable coin and mining the coin that you actually want to hold long term. For example, my Jazz miner is the only rig in my farm that's been consistently profitable since the ETH merge. However, it mines Ethereum Classic, which isn't really a coin that I'm too keen on holding personally. But with unMineable, I can keep that same level of mining profitability, but be paid in different coins I actually do want to hold, like maybe Dogecoin or Flux or Bitcoin.
Also, make sure you add #Seb to the end of your worker name to get a 25% discount on their fee. You do this in your miner batch file on Windows or in setup miner config in your 𝗦𝗧𝗛 flight sheet.
So check out unMineable through the link in the video description and get started today.
Alright, so back in, I think around 2017, one of my really good friends introduced me to mining. He was using a NiceHash on his 1070, and at first I of course thought that that was so awesome how his computer was basically just printing money for him. But that was until I asked,
"So how much are you making every day?"
And he replied something like, honestly, I can't even remember. It was maybe like 30 cents a day or something like that. But the point was that to me, with the mindset I had back then, that was such a small amount and just seemed like a stupid waste of time going through all that just to make a measly 30 cents a day. And that is my fifth and final regret. Being so super caught up on daily profitability and not understanding the concept of delayed gratification. Because obviously, and now I don't know if this is what my friend actually did or not, but if he would have held on to those 30 cents of BTC that he was making every day and either sold it a year later in the 2018 bull market or even better in the 2022 bull market, that 1070 probably made him a really significant amount of money in the end. But me being so focused on immediate profit and not understanding the concept of using mining as a long-term strategy to stack crypto and then sell it when the time is right, of course really hurt me in the long run. And the thing is, that is still true to this day right now. Just like I really wish I would have started mining back in 2017, there might be a lot of you that will look back 6 years from now and really wish you would have gotten started back now in 2023.